Hello, beautiful MILFs, and welcome back to another episode of the MILFs Who Pivot podcast, where the term MILF is short for Money Making Independent Lady Friends. I'm your host, Bianca Terry, and each week I'll either be interviewing or reading about amazing women who have pivoted in life to pursue their wildest dreams and wealth from a MILF's perspective. This podcast aims to motivate and encourage other MILFs to boldly explore uncharted paths towards a fresh and fabulous leveled up life. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of MILFs Who Pivot podcast. This week, I'd like to welcome Elizabeth Resnick. Elizabeth is a 57-year-old double certified health and weight loss coach, author, and content creator on Instagram and LTK. She is also a two-time quarterfinalist in the Maxim CoverGirl competition in her 50s, competing with women in their 20s and 30s. Elizabeth believes that it's time to tell a new story about aging. We can love our bodies and our lives at any age and wear whatever we damn well please. I love that quote, Elizabeth. Welcome. It's so nice to meet you.
You as well, Bianca. I'm so excited to be here. As soon as I heard from you, I just thought, oh, this is so up my alley.
I'm glad it resonated with you. I was really excited. I saw how confident you are in your bikinis. It's like you post content every day with a different bikini on. I'm like, okay, goals. I'd like to do that one day. So let's get started.
Absolutely.
I think first, let's talk about life before your pivot. Who were you in your 20s and 30s?
I was first of all, my life was wonderful. So it's not like definitely some things happened where I had to pivot. We'll get to that. But I followed a very traditional path and I loved it. So I grew up in a very lovely suburb of Philadelphia, two parents. We lived in the 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house, went to an excellent public school, private colleges, all the things. I have a sister that I'm super close to this day. And life was great. And graduated from college. And shortly after that, met there's not drama in my family or anything. Met my husband shortly after I graduated from college, got married, got engaged a year and a half later. Married a year and a half after that. And I will say, looking back in retrospect, and this is nothing negative, but I will say that there were times even then that some things maybe felt off, but I was like, well, this is just the path. Like I'm on this path, so I wouldn't go off this path. So I will say, and again, I have no regrets about my path, but it's interesting when you have little gut feelings, like something feels a little funny or a little doesn't seem right. Generally there's a reason. There's a reason for that. But so married, career I did everything like from HR, which is what I went to school for, retail management. I sold life insurance. Like I've done a lot of things. But when I gave birth to my first child, my son, after that, I was a stay-at-home mom for 19 years. When I tell you that we had the traditional life that looks beautiful on paper, right down to a picket fence. I had a picket fence around my house. It wasn't white. It was like neutral, but I had a picket fence, the 3-car garage, all the things. And I lived a somewhat pampered lifestyle. But there was some unhealthy stuff going on, and there's zero guilt. I mean, I'm not blaming or pointing fingers. I'm just saying it wasn't a healthy relationship. And I can see the role that I can see the role that I played. I went into things pretty naively and openly, and I was very much a people pleaser, and I wanted to make everybody happy. And so that was my life before the pivot. On paper, it was beautiful. And by all means, there were beautiful moments, but it reached a point where I was not beautiful inside, where I was torn apart inside and putting on this face for the world to see. And nobody knew what was going on with me.
Mm-hmm. So when you got to that point, Was it just a spontaneous feeling that you have?
It was
Was it your
building.
inner voice?
It was building for years. So things were more and more unhealthy. And again, I mean, no woman should deal with some things, but I allowed some things and I didn't speak up. And there's guilt and shame that comes along with that. So
Mhm.
when you have this picture perfect and you have happy parents and happily married sibling and everything, it was very humiliating for me to ever let on to anybody or any of my friends or anything that things weren't right. And I
Right.
did have,
You were trying
as
to
it
keep up the
turned out,
facade.
yeah, as it turns out, there were some people that suspected, but most didn't. And
Hmm.
so it's that shame, and it's the fear. Nothing was in my name. I had
Hmm.
zero of my own money. The only thing, so everything was together, our money was together. I mean, I hadn't worked for 19 years.
Yeah.
So I had one credit card that was in my name that I had since I was in college, and I just always
Hmm.
kind of held on to this American Express card. And I had an IRA rollover from the job, like the 401k from the job that I left. There wasn't much in that, but I didn't I'd made a good choice with my investment and that had kind of grown. Not a lot of money, but that was literally all that I had. So it was also I don't even know how I would leave. And then things
Wow.
became, and this is maybe a story for another podcast, but it's just things got to a point where over a period of several months, so it was basically, I would say August of 2015, where I knew that for my own mental and physical health, I had to get out. It was so clear. I confided in 6 people, and I still wasn't sure what my plan was going to be, but I did consult with an attorney and was just kind of like, okay, I know I'm leaving and I need to come up with a plan to do it the right way because you think in my head I was just always going to be a blow up and I left because there were a lot of those. Speaking to an attorney, she was like, you can't just like, you have kids who are, my kids were within high school, she said like you need to have I knew where I would go, but it didn't really, at least as a temporary measure.
So
She
let's
said you
let's stop there real quick. I want to back up just a little bit. How did you develop the courage to finally leave? I know you said you spoke with a couple of people. Did they encourage you, or by that
need,
time had you
um,
already decided that you were
I
leaving?
decided that if nobody, I knew that I was dying inside.
Okay. So
And
you had come to your breaking point,
I had
which was a
come to
turning
my break.
point. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I had at this point, I hadn't worked in 19 years. I had gone back and earned a health coaching certification. So and started a blog. Um
Tell us about the
I
blog.
so that was where the name Happy Healthy Not came. So I had always wanted, and my husband just wasn't supportive of this because he had kids to put through college and he's like, why would I pay? Looking back, I see now why I was stressed with 2 kids through college. And I'm saying, I'd like to go get this health coaching. I'd like to go back to school. And he's like, well, you're like at the back of the list. So I cashed out that IRA. I bought my own laptop, which I still have, that original little MacBook Air. I finally had to make a little upgrade last year, but I will never get rid of that. So I bought the littlest MacBook Air and I paid for my first health coaching certification, which was at Institute of Integrative Nutrition in New York. And my goal was to be a blogger and to monetize the blog. And it was called, so the name Happy Healthy Not just kept coming because I want women to feel that way. I wasn't even saying like, I like now on Instagram, I'm Happy Healthy Not Elizabeth, and people call me that. To me, it was just like that was a brand that I wanted to create, that I wanted everybody to feel this way. So my original blog was a mouthful. It was Elizabeth Resnick, holistic health for women who want to feel happy, healthy, and hot. And it was very just health related, green drinks, collagen in your coffee, stuff like that, health tips. And then I talk about how this is going to make you happy, healthy, and hot. And I didn't even show my blog to my husband for it was up and running for a month before he knew about it. Because I just didn't know how he would, and I finally told him because I knew people were starting to hear about it. And he kind of like liked it and didn't. And then he kind of was like, I see some typos, and I thought, oh my gosh, like,
So
so
did you show him the blog before or after you left?
it was before. So it was, I started the blog in 2015, like fall of 2000, November 2nd, 2015. So
Okay.
it'll be 9 years this year. And that I started. So I consider that the beginning of Happy, Healthy, and Hot. That's when the brand started. And so it was up and running for a month. We were still married. Things were definitely tense. But I was like, I'm doing this thing, like, which I had said I wanted to do, but then I never showed him. I was just like, I was so proud. It was the happiest I had been in such a long time was, and I still like, I love to create content. So to have this place to share and to create, and it was already, I was already getting comments from people and building this community. And it was, I'd never been so excited about something. Like I just was thinking about it 24/7, getting ideas. And when I said, I'm doing this thing, like, and I want to show
And you
you.
set up everything yourself? I mean,
I started,
how did you
and
get the
I,
knowledge?
what?
How did you get the knowledge and the know-how, the technical
I
skills?
I don't even know. I I didn't know what I was doing. I just Googled stuff. I would sit in Starbucks and I went, it was WordPress.com that I used. I was like, well, how can I do all of this and pay as little money as possible? So I got my original domain name. It was like elizres.com. And I just set up this WordPress and it took me 5,000 years. Like everything was so hard. Anytime I tried to put in a link, it took me forever. Like I didn't know anything that I was doing. And I cried every day, but I loved writing the posts. But I cried when I had to do it, like put anything together. Just learning how to put a picture in a blog post, like hurt my brain.
Exactly. There's so many steps. But the most important thing is that you figured it out and you did
I
not give
did.
up.
And
It's
I
the
went,
same thing starting this podcast. I'm still building the framework behind the scenes, but I had to make a decision. Am I going to continue to put this on hold or am I going to start where I am and perfect everything? I'm making mistakes all the time. So I'm like you. I haven't cried yet, but
yeah. Okay. I love that you're sharing this. And what I want to share with everybody is that when I first started this blog, okay, if you would see, knowing what the pictures and video that I post now, if you would see what I posted then. So I had, my phone was an iPhone 6 and it was very, very cracked. It was literally being held together by the case. I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have any lighting. I mean, I still wing it with all that stuff. But I would prop my phone up on an almond milk carton and set the timer and then run and take a picture. And I like those, some of those pictures, they're so bad. But that's just what I use. Like, just use what you have. You figure it out. Like you just
exactly. Use what you have.
figure it out.
I love
It's and get you learn as you go.
So you started the blog. You got certified in what is it called? Is it health coaching or
So
health
my
and wellness?
first certification, yeah, so it was a integrative health coach certification and I earned that. So I didn't start, so that is one thing I will say. I didn't start the blog until I had the certification. I 1000% could have started the blog earlier. I wanted to have these credentials. Looking back, I wish I had started it sooner and had it up and running. So it's again, stop waiting for things to be perfect. They don't have to be. Just messy action is still action.
Exactly. And so, how long after the blog and getting certified did you start working with clients? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Okay, so it was a long time before I started. Like I would say my goal, I'm going to be perfectly honest, my goal was never to coach clients. I only got the certification to have some credentials. So
Ah,
it
okay.
might have been, I wanted to create a blog that would entertain and educate and monetize
Mhm.
it through some affiliate marketing and things like that. So I had no real calling to work with people one-on-one. And it was probably, and I really wasn't marketing myself. I was just saying I have this, like, I have this background, I have this education. And later I did go to get, when I say I'm a double certified health coach, I went back for a second certification that I consider to be was definitely more rigorous. But, you know, so I truly do have two certifications. But at the end of the day, I
Mhm.
didn't need anything to start this blog. And so
Right.
it was probably, I don't know if it was a year or so in, but somebody sent me an email like, well, hey, I'd like to meet with you. And I thought, oh my gosh, wait, now I have to. So, like, oh, wait, how do I accept payment? It was just like all these things that I hadn't really thought about. But I did start coaching women here and there and then started doing it more and more. But it was really, I just wanted to reach people and inspire them and give them tips, like little bite sized tips that they could take and run with. That was, and
Mhm.
then monetize that with some affiliate marketing or maybe write a book or something, which, I've now done. But yeah, that's how it all started.
So how did that make you feel once you got the blog up and running and you're putting out content and then fast forward a little bit, you're coaching clients. How did that feel when you first, hit those milestones? Did you
It's so
feel, no, go ahead.
It's exciting. It's very exciting. And I continue to be really proud of myself to this day, because it's 8.5 years in, and I'm still learning new things. The other day, I set up a landing page for a little coaching offer that I have, and it included the calendar and payment and all these things. And I was like, I didn't cry once. So, and I didn't have to call anybody to help me. I figured the whole thing out myself. So, like, we're always learning and figuring stuff out. It doesn't matter. There's always something new to learn. Um, but so it's so empowering. And at the same time, I think we all have some imposter syndrome every day. Sometimes you just say, wait, I don't know what I'm doing. Why can't I would get so frustrated with the techie stuff and feel like I was such a dummy and forget that I have all these other things to offer.
So, over the past 8 years, you
Hmm.
mentioned that you've been working hard to create this life of intention. What
Yes.
are some of the things that you've had to do in order to be intentional about the way you live? What are some changes you had to make? What are some revelations, you've experienced? Just take us through that process a little bit.
Oh, that's a good one. And I'm going to try to make it concise because I could talk about this all day. Um, it's really going within and getting in touch with yourself and figuring out what you want, and to realize that at the end of the day, we are responsible for ourselves. So I really felt after I made this big move and left this unhealthy marriage and took this big, bold leap of faith, that suddenly my life would be unicorns and roses and people would be throwing money at me and, whatever. Um, that wasn't the case. Like, I had a lot of growing up to do, a lot of learning to do, a lot of processing, a lot of anger, abandonment, all of these things to work through. But it's this realization that at the end of the day, it's up to us. We need to create space and we need to be able to sit with our feelings and sit with some, when I say create space, to be okay with, like, I lost friends in the divorce, a lot of people we hung out with. I have the most amazing friends now. Some of them are friends from that time. Some are childhood friends who we've gotten closer, and I've attracted new people into my life that blow my mind. Like, when I think about the friends in my life, from the ones that I've known, one of them I've known literally since I was born, to new amazing women that have come into my life in the last few years. And I'm like, I think I have the most amazing circle. I can't even believe it. But it had to start with me being comfortable with being lonely and being alone. I'm not to be get comfortable with being alone and not being lonely. To get comfortable, I dated a lot for a while, but then to learn to really be comfortable with just enjoying my own company so much that somebody had to be so amazing for me to even want to have dinner. Um, so it's really realizing, it sounds so cliche, but you have to be able to everything starts with you, and you kind of have to give everything you want to yourself. And it's not about
Exactly.
buying yourself bags and presents, and I've done that, but and some of that has been good, and it's been an up level. And even when I've bought myself something expensive, it's been done with intention and kind of like, this is symbolic of my next level. So I'm not against doing that. But at the end of the day, it's really thinking about how you want your life to feel and then creating that. Like, I've changed my environment. I live in the same rental townhouse that I moved into when I left my marriage. But I was so unhappy when I first came here, and now I know this isn't my forever home, but I love being here. So I've changed my environment. My friends have changed in that I've attracted some new ones, and the long-standing friendships have gotten better. Like, everything in my life has up leveled, but it came from changes that I made.
Exactly. And isn't that a great feeling? I mean, that's
Yeah.
something to really be proud of.
Thank
You
you.
single-handedly took control of your life. You decided to make a change. You decided to leave a situation that wasn't serving you. You made some very bold choices. You were
I
a
did.
stay-at-home mom for many years, um, almost 20 years, I think. And then
Yeah.
you pivoted and created, this whole new life for yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful thing. I wanted to get to and learn about everything that you have going on now, and also the competitions that you competed in. If you're still competing, can you tell I'm excited about
Okay.
that?
Yeah. So I've never been I compete, normally I'm somebody that's competitive with myself. I always want to better myself. It, and so in 2020, I was, we're all have more time on our hands than usual. And I saw something about the Maxim CoverGirl competition. And the rules said you had to be at least 18. And I was 53. So I was like, okay, well, I can check that box. And so I entered it. I mean, I don't want to say it was a joke. It was not a joke. I entered it on a whim. But it felt really good. They said submit 3 photos, preferably professional, write up a little thing about yourself, and you'll hear back whenever if you're accepted, and then from there it's all this voting and everything. So I just uploaded like some bikini pics that I had taken myself on the beach with my camera and a tripod, and forgot about it. And a couple of days later, I get an email saying I've been accepted. And then all of the second guessing came in, and I thought, what am I doing? This is crazy. Like, why am I entering a cover girl competition to be on the cover of Maxim? Like, what am I thinking? And but I realized that all of that, I was excited to do this. I mean, I figured I'd be out right away, but I still was excited to try it. It was so all of my fears came from, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? And it was done by voting. And we had at that time, the way it was run, we had a portfolio so people would log in online and they could see our pictures. Everything's appropriate. But definitely some of it was a little, um,
Spicy.
all this stuff was posted on Instagram at one point or another. It was definitely a little more out of my comfort zone. So I went with a photographer
Mhm.
friend, literally into the woods. There's pictures of me in white panties, um, in the woods. And the hikers went by while like, it was very empowering to take pictures. To this day, I'm proud of them. I look better physically now than I did then. Like, I'm in better shape now, but boy, was that like raw confidence to do that. And the only person who I checked with, I was like, these are my pictures and I'm proud of them. The only person I did talk to, my daughter, who is an adult. So I said, I'm not I don't ask your permission for anything, but I want to show you these pictures. And I'm entering this competition. That's done. I want to show you these pictures. These aren't going to go on Instagram because they didn't for a long time. But they're for this competition. Tell me what you think. And she said, they're cute, Mom. They're cute. And I was like, okay, then. So I knew that if anything was said down the road, I had her, like, I literally had her blessing on these pictures. So I entered this competition and started posting about it on Instagram. Like, hey, I did something a little crazy. I entered the Maximum Cover Girl competition. People started voting. Next thing I knew, people all over the world voting, sharing my link. somehow I made it through 5 rounds of cuts and got to the quarterfinals. And at that point, they mix everybody up. Like they cut, it's like, okay, you're divided into groups, and the top 10 in this group move forward, and then the top 5, and then the top 2. I just kept moving forward. I was number 1 in my group every single time. And then I made it to the quarterfinals. They mixed us up. And then at that point in 2020, very quickly, I was out. I was like, wow, I was in this for 6 weeks, number 1 in my group, competing with women, mostly in their 20s. And it was very empowering for me. I faced some fears. I got very creative with the pictures, and it was really fun. And I talked about it. And I used it as a platform to really encourage women to, not that you have to want to be on the cover of Maxim magazine, like that doesn't, but just to go after what you want. Like, don't worry about, like, if you have this thing you want to do, just go for it. So the growth that came out of this for me was so phenomenal. And I never really intended to do it again. And then I saw something in December of 2023 that it was, they run it every year. And I've just been like, no, not my thing. This year, in 2023, I thought I'm going for it in 2024. And I'm more confident, and I'm going to really present this as, let's tell a new story about aging. Let's put a confident as 57-year-old on the cover of a luxury men's magazine. That is going to say something to the world. And I think the timing is right for this, with people like Paulina, all these people who are out there, women of my generation or even older, who are really killing it. So this year I went for it, and Bianca, I intended to win. And I made it again to the quarterfinals. And this time, instead of being out, like in the very beginning, falling to the bottom, I kept staying number 1 or number 2 in my group. And I needed to be in the top 2 in my group to move forward to the semifinals. And then out of that, 10 women were going to be picked, top 10 in votes. All of them are going to be in the magazine. The judges picked one for the cover. I was so determined. And so something I learned from this was this detachment, that I stopped looking. I wouldn't even look at my standings. I could go days without looking, because I was just like, I've got this. I'm putting my energy into stuff that's moving me forward, reaching out to people, posting on Instagram, asking people to share. And that's what I put my energy into. And people would say, you're still number 1. I was like, I know I'm number 1. Ultimately, in the last hour, from what I'm told, someone bought a lot of it, because you could also people weren't buying me, like people were just voting. So you could also make donations to a charity and buy votes every day. And I was asked for that, but that wasn't, I didn't have like a sugar daddy to buy me votes or anything. And apparently in literally the last hour, somebody bought some bought a lot of votes. They have nothing is wrong here. And I went from number 1, I was back and forth between number 1 and number 2 that whole day, from what I've told. I didn't look. And I got bumped down to number 3, and I did not move forward. And I know it all worked out the way it was meant to. I have no plans to do it again. I have no sour grapes. It was the most amazing, empowering experience. I made the point that I wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
And did I want on the cover of that magazine? Hell yeah. Did I want to do a photo shoot in Venice, Italy? Hell yeah. Did it hurt did I feel not jealousy, just a little, when I was watching the girl who did win go to Venice? Yeah, but I'm still cheering for her. Like, I'm still, I'll get there some other way, and maybe I'll be in another magazine cover because somebody asked somebody to be on. But I'm not. That's the last time I need to go out there and ask for votes, and I've done it, and it was fun, and it was empowering. But that's not. People kept afterwards. So many people came to me. Oh, there's this fitness magazine is looking for over 40 women, and I was like, no, I'm not a contest girl. This felt aligned for me, and I was passionate about it. I don't ever need to do it again. I'm very open to being on the cover of a magazine now, but they can come to me.
What an inspiration, though, Elizabeth. I mean, that sounds so exciting. I love that.
It
And,
was
you can still take the trip to Venice and do your own photo shoot.
Absolutely.
They
I'm
have
going
those
to
backgrounds.
handle it.
Create your own magazine.
Right.
So tell us about the book. You wrote a book and
Um,
also LTK, because I'm not familiar with LTK.
oh, absolutely. Yes. So I've self-published 2 books and I'll have a third one coming out. Now I'm putting this out there. So I've got it. My third book is coming out in August. So almost 3 years ago, I published a journal on Amazon, self-published a journal. It's the Happy, Healthy, and Not Journal. Um, Probably have one right here. I still use this every single day. So I was looking for something to help my clients and myself. I'm really big on putting pen to paper, positive mindset, but also tracking what you eat, tracking your activity, looking for things to be proud of. So I created, and I couldn't find what I wanted. So I made it myself, and it kind of helped me heal through a difficult time. I put all my energy into this. It was like my new baby. Just I was going through something difficult and I needed to create something, and that's what I did. Love, love, love this. And then for years, people were asking me for a cookbook, and I had all these recipes and all these ideas. It was very daunting to put it together. And then I ended up, because the Amazon thing just didn't make sense for the cookbook because of all the color. So I did that as an ebook, this digital download, and then I found out that's actually everybody's winning because I can deliver it at a much lower price. It's actually more profitable for me because I don't make a lot of money every time a journal sells. I'm super proud of this, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But really thrilled with the cookbook. And then I've come up with so many new recipes and ideas, and seeing the success women have had with the first cookbook gave me ideas of what I wanted to put in the second. So that will be coming out, should be early August. And that's kind of, my birthday's in August. So it's a birthday present to myself that it's finished. And I'm really proud of it. I was working on it literally right before I hopped on our interview. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Well, you
Yeah.
have to make sure to give me the links and I'll post them in the show notes.
That would be amazing. I absolutely will get that to you. Yes. Oh, and
And so,
LTK.
yeah.
So LTK is something, it's really exciting to me. It stands for Like to Know It. And it's a creator-driven shopping app. And it actually started, it's been around since 2011, not as an app back then. Um, but it was created by this really amazing woman, Amber Vensbox, who is such a badass, just leader, amazing woman, who was a blogger as well. She was a fashion blogger and was finding out that it's just really hard to monetize a blog in general, and created this way that at the time was really just for fashion bloggers, but now there's a lot more, that people could get better affiliate, like have affiliate links and everything. And so now it's this amazing app that I'm thrilled to be a part of. They're selective. It was like applying to college. I think they have a below, like a less than 20% acceptance rate, but where I can upload, for example, my Instagram content, but put links to what I'm wearing or my kitchen gadgets, things like that. And then I'm always getting these questions. Oh my gosh, where'd you get that outfit? Oh, where can I get this? Where can I get that? Well, it's a way for people to shop all the things that I'm talking about. And it's so easy. I love it because, as we've been talking about how hard all this techie stuff is, LTK is all giving me all the things that I wanted when I first started my blog, like how I wanted to monetize a blog and share things with people. And it's giving me all that, but they've taken all the hard techie stuff out of the way. Plus,
Mhm.
now I used to just want to write, but it turns out I much prefer video. I just like to show up. So it's such a natural for me because I can create so much content, and they make it so easy. They do all the back end work. They'll email people if there's a price drop on something, or they do all the back end work, and just it's the most amazing opportunity. So I just started with them in September, and I'm having so much fun. It's not even funny. Like, it's the best thing
It
ever.
sounds fun. I like that. And so is it just the clothes that you're wearing that you're sharing the information for?
Yeah, so I can share whatever I want. I share a lot of my
Mm.
workout stuff because I'm good at finding, I don't want to say dupes, but I love Lululemon, but I don't always want to spend $99 in a pair of Align leggings. So I'm really good at finding things where I'm like, okay, this is the same fabric and the same cut. And it actually snatches I think it gives like makes your waist look a little more snatched. And these are 33, or you can buy the Lulus for 99. Your choice. They're both awesome. But so I'm really good at finding stuff like that because I want to look cute, but I don't want to drop $250 on a workout outfit every time.
Exactly. That
So
that I
I
love that. That's like, I don't know if you remember the show The Look for Less,
yeah,
where they go out and yeah, that's exactly what you're doing.
yes, and it's
Uh,
just really fun because I like the high end stuff, but I'm also say, well, what if we could have that high end look and feel? I'm very tactile. And so
mhm.
I'm always like, oh, this fabric is so buttery and yummy, and I just love it. And so I get so excited talking about this stuff that it's and then my exercise equipment that because I work out at home and I can share my workout equipment. I can share things that I'm using in my recipes. Like it's just a way to share my life.
Okay. I love it. I'm always in the market for athletic wear, and I feel like it's gotten difficult to find really good quality athletic
Yeah,
wear at a good price.
right.
I feel like everything now is on Amazon, but when I go on there, sometimes what I receive in the mail is not what's in the
It's not
photo.
what you
Like,
yes,
I'm very particular about athletic wear, the material, like you said, the fabric, how it feels on my skin,
right,
because, you're moving quickly and you want something
right.
comfortable
And
that
then
fits well.
you want your leggings to stay up. There's that.
Yes, that part.
There's
Yes.
that part, it's just all that right. So it's like that's what I love is I put this stuff to the test in my real life. And I'll say,
Mhm.
and I'm so open about what I like about something or what I don't, I'll say like, hey, this stretched out after a while. Looks really cute, but or this runs big. So I just try to share everything as real as I can.
Mhm. Perfect. So, going back to the changes that you've made in your life and that you're continuing to make, are there
Mhm.
any other areas outside of all of the work that you're doing, like career-minded work that you're doing, that you've redesigned or created routines around? Hobbies? I know you mentioned travel. Are you a solo traveler? Tell us about that.
Okay. I feel like I've up leveled and continue to up level every single area of my life. And looking back, and I actually created a course about this. It's a digital course. It's called Elevate with Elizabeth, which I don't talk about a lot, but it kind of goes along the lines of this. It's a video course.
And now's
Um,
the perfect time to share.
yeah, so and it's ridiculously reasonable. It's $35. I basically share my formula. So I realize when I left my marriage and created this business and kind of this new life, I really have this process that I've used. And it's like 5 steps. And you use them and you keep repeating them because you keep wanting to reach new levels. And once I realized what those steps were and identified them, it became easier then to apply them. It's basically just who do you want to become? Like you have to be clear on that. And
Yes.
like figure that out instead of just this who does everybody think you want to become or who do you think you want to become, like what does that mean to you, what do you want your life to look like and feel like, and then I believe in kind of giving that new version of you a name. Sometimes we can do that. I'm just taking you through this process really quick. Then we need to create space for her. So that is creating space on your calendar. If you're building a business, when are you doing this? Creating Maybe it's creating space just to get more sleep, to not meet friends for a drink and go to bed early so you feel you can take care of yourself the next day. Um, Maybe it's clearing out your closet of all those things you were hanging on to that you think you're going to wear, but you're really not, but you feel guilty because you spent so much time and making room for the cute athletic stuff that's the look that you want now or whatever it is. It's creating space in your calendar, creating space in your home, getting rid of clutter that's holding you back. And, sometimes we just spend so much time moving our stuff around. If you want to travel, it's really hard to travel when you're bogged down by a lot of stuff. It's really
Yes.
easy to pack for a trip when you love everything in your closet. and you don't have a whole lot of stuff and your routines are pretty streamlined. And then it's just, taking those steps that you need to take, the things you've been putting off, the messy action, okay, I'm going to create this website or this podcast or whatever. I'm just going to do it. Like, it's not going to be perfect. And then you're basically stepping into that next level. You're embodying her. Like, the sooner you just learn to take these steps faster and faster. So doing that, I've up leveled my environment. I've up leveled all of my close relationships. Um, everything, my wardrobe, like everything in my life. And it wasn't necessarily spending money. Many times it's like, as you get rid of things, you're making space for better things to come in. And it's amazing how quickly that happens.
Yes, I'm in total agreement. I'm glad you mentioned process because a lot of people don't realize it takes work to live a life of intention. And
Yes,
those tips that you mentioned, I'm like, oh my gosh, do we have the same inner voice? Because I have applied many of those to my own life.
I
And
love it.
I recently recorded a solo episode where I talked about, what is intention? How can you create a life of intention? So I love speaking to other people who can relate to that.
Yeah. I
I
can't
think it's
wait to listen to that
wonderful.
one.
People don't understand the work, it
Yeah.
like daily, you have to have a plan and then
Every
you
day.
have to take action. So,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we could talk about this all night.
Yes, I know.
So, next thing I want to talk about briefly is finances and how important is it to factor in wealth building and or retirement at this stage of your life?
I think that's such a great question because I think we can always, it's really overwhelming. And I'll just say, maybe I didn't advocate for myself a whole lot during the divorce process and take full responsibility for that. And then I had some hurt little girl energy, like, oh, I got taken advantage of. Well, I didn't stand up for myself. So what I started doing is saying, okay, I don't have all the money to, play with, work with, or whatever that I would like. But what can I do? This is part of like taking the actions. Who do I want to be? So even though I didn't have a lot of money to invest, I set up an investment account and had a small amount drafted from my checking account every single month. Because I was like, what is my future version of me doing? My future version is just investing, investing, investing. Like that it's just something that happens that her money is always growing and building. So that I set that up. And because I was like, that's who I want to be. Now, do I want to make that amount bigger every month? I do. I'm not there yet. Like I'm not ready to make it bigger, but I'm doing some things. I think my advice would be to take whatever moves you can make. Like you don't, how can I invest? How can I start growing money? And just to look at your money, even if it's hard, even if it feels icky, like it's still something to be proud of that you are looking at it, opening your bills, knowing what you owe, like figuring out again a system, a process that works for you.
Exactly.
And because we're all, everybody's different. I still like to see some things in front of me on like paper. So I have a calendar where I keep track of like expenses and things because that just works and stuff coming in because that works for me. I realize it's whatever, it's silly. It works for me, so that's what I do. So it's just looking at your stuff and keeping track, even if it's not where you want it to be, just do it because don't wait till you have a lot of money. You don't need a lot of, you want to be already on top of things as so you're ready as the bigger money's coming in.
hmm And like you said, looking at your stuff is half the battle. You have to
Yeah,
look at it, get comfortable with it, no matter what it looks like. Otherwise, you'll
right.
be in the dark with the blinders on and not know which way to go. So, thank you
Right.
for sharing those tips,
Yeah,
Elizabeth.
absolutely.
Let's move into the strawberry round. I think it's a good time for that.
Okay,
Where I'll
I'm
ask you,
ready.
you ready? I'll ask you
I'm
five
ready.
questions requiring rapid, short, and sweet answers. First one
Okay.
is name a book that has inspired you tremendously.
The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, and I think it was written in 1910. And it is a life-changing book. I've listened to it on audio. I have the like little paperback copy, but I love to listen to it on audio. I've listened to it over and over, and there's a quote that will stick with me for the rest of my life. The best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself.
Mm, that's a profound statement. And what's the name of that
Yeah,
book again?
because the book, it's The Science of Getting Rich, and it's by a man named Wallace Wattles. That's a name you won't forget. So people
Yeah,
always talk about Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I personally think this is much better, and it's about so much more than money, but it's about really adding value to the world. And when you're doing that, you will make money. But it's
hmm,
if you are not filling yourself, that's the best thing you can give to the world is the best version of yourself.
perfect. What's a software tool or app you can't live without for personal or professional use?
Okay, so right, so for professional, I would just say Instagram and LTK. I'm on those two apps every day, posting content. They're so user friendly for me, very intuitive. But I would say what I use, the app that I probably use the most in my personal life is YouTube because it's just such a wealth of information from listening to, I'll put on some like Hertz music or something at night as I'm drifting off to sleep, and there might be subliminal affirmations and it's white noise and it's amazing. I'll get up in the morning and turn on some affirmations that are just, I'm listening to like maybe Louise Hay as I'm just getting up and going out for my walk, and it's really peaceful and soothing. So to just, you get to choose what you're hearing in the background. It doesn't have to be the chatter of the world. You can put something positive into your brain.
I agree. I love that. Name someone you love to have lunch with and why.
Oh, that's a good one. I would say Amber Ven's Box, who is the founder of LTK, because I just think she is such a brilliant. I love her personal style, and she is completely different from me. She's a very tall, pale redhead. And yet I will look at, so you think, oh, you guys wouldn't wear the same clothes. I love her, and she wears a lot of Western wear, which isn't my style either. But she has such a great sense of style that I love seeing what she's wearing, and she's worked in every part of the fashion, like every side of the fashion industry. And then to see how she created this business and this app, over $4 billion of sales goes through this app every single year. So many people are benefiting. Retailers are benefiting from this creator economy. They're finding out that people are much more likely to buy from, they know somebody they know, like, and trust online than just from like an
Mhm.
ad in a magazine or a billboard or something. So
Yeah.
like, and then we're benefiting. Like everybody's benefiting from it, and it's just such a win-win. And I would love to just pick her brain and be inspired and find out what her next idea is, because I think it's really cool.
Well, maybe you just spoke that into existence.
Yes, I
Manifested
may.
that. It'll happen soon.
Yes.
What's a top self-care ritual?
For me, my entire morning routine, I would say, is my number one self-care ritual. And my morning routine is kind of long because I choose to make it that way. But I would just say to anybody that even if you have 5 minutes, the way you start your day is setting the tone for your day. So, and I always connect before you consume. So connect with yourself before you get on social media, check news, email, text, any of that stuff. Like fill yourself up first.
That's so important. And last question is, do you have a life motto or quote that you live by?
Yes. I would say there's two. One is, and I think I posted this one on Instagram today. I always say it feels so good to feel so good. So
I
it's just
like
like
that.
when it's just, yeah, like it feels so good to feel so good. So when you're taking care of yourself, that feels good and you want more of it. And then the
Yeah.
other one that I say all the time that I use as an affirmation is thank you, more please. So it's just like something is good. Like, I got this, give me more of it. Like, thank you, because we can be grateful and want more. So every like notification that comes in, like a cookbook sells, thank you, more please. I'm so thankful it's the woman or man that purchased it. I'm so thankful because I want it. Like, I'm grateful for the income, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to reach them and help them. And so it's just like, let's have more of this.
Wonderful. And final question, do you have any final words for our listeners? Words of encouragement?
I
You
would just
dropped a lot of
say
gems.
thank you. I mean, I feel like we've covered so much, but I would just say to just take some action. The only time
Yeah.
that we have is right now. So whatever, like, be the person that you want to be. And don't say, what, I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that. Like, I started a blog with a cracked iPhone 6 propped up in an almond milk carton. Like, you don't need the resources. You just need to be resourceful with, like, work with what you have. And then things will get better. And then as they do, you say, thank you more, please.
Couldn't have said it better. That's actually my motto, Elizabeth, that I try to live by. Start where you are, and
Yes.
stop putting things off. Work with what you have. So,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for chatting with me today. Where can our listeners go to find out more about you and your business, your books?
I would say best place to follow me is on, I'll give you the links for my Instagram. I'm at happy, healthy, and hot _Elizabeth. Because from there you can find my books, you can find everything. Or for anybody who's using the LTK app, which I highly recommend, I'm Elizabeth _Resnick. And everything is there. You can find everything.
Perfect. Again, oh my gosh, this was the best conversation. Thank you so
It
much.
was. I feel like we can talk. Like, I'll come back anytime. This was so much fun.
Awesome. I love your energy.
I love yours. I feel like we're so, like, we think alike. Like, we could talk all night.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, thanks again and have a great evening. Talk to
You
you
as
soon.
well.
Take
Okay,
care.
sounds
Bye-bye.
good. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of the MILFs Who Pivot podcast. Please take a minute to leave a review and don't forget to follow the show, download the episodes, and share with the other MILFs in your life. Listen in on any of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify, or watch our videos on YouTube. You can join the community on Facebook and Instagram at MILFs Who Pivot Podcast.